Thanks everybody for coming out here to Elliott Avenue here today, and just wanted to talk about this project out here since it's been in the news lately. Before I do that, I just want to address a couple other issues related to a letter from the Metro Council that we received yesterday, and that was about a couple different issues, but one of them was the request for some information about the tragedy involving Breonna Taylor. Obviously, let me repeat, this has been a tremendous tragedy for Breonna and her family and the entire community. The guiding light throughout all of this is to get to the truth, get to justice. People might disagree on outcomes, but we should all agree that we want the truth to be there. And that's why I've asked the FBI and the Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney to get involved. Everybody knows the cases with Daniel Cameron, the Attorney General, right now, so we'll see what he's going to do about this. But I'm not going to do anything to impede the criminal investigation. The FBI, the Attorney General, have been very clear on what their expectations are from us in terms of any information that Metro has. Gene Porter has letters from them if anybody wants a copy of them, but I'll read just one sentence from the FBI, and it's similar with the Attorney General. It's simple. It says, the public dissemination of the investigative files for this PIU case at this time in the federal investigation would have an adverse impact on our ability to properly investigate this matter. So to impede anything with the criminal investigation may impede justice. So I know that this has taken longer than people want it to take. It's taken longer than I want it to take as well. But that's the way the process currently works right now. So I just wish everybody would kind of go with that so that we can get to truth, that we can get to justice in this case. And I know that council wants the same thing. I'm sure there has to be some misunderstanding because it would be incredible to me that they would want to impede this investigation in any kind of way, and we will not be doing that. So I wanted to talk about that first to start off with. Second, there's been, I don't know if it's confusion in some parts of the community, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the protest at Jefferson Square Park and the caravans. Look, we live in the United States of America. The Constitution, our First Amendment, is freedom of speech. So people have a right to protest. People have a right to peaceful protest. When there is not peaceful protesting taking place, LMPD takes appropriate action to keep people and property safe. There have been about 345 arrests so far as a result of unpeaceful protest. So what we're going to continue to do, the police will protect the protesters' right to peaceful protest and follow the First Amendment. But for those that some people think that nothing is being done to try to have order in the city, that is not all the case. That is not all the case. When conditions are unsafe, LMPD takes appropriate action. So whether it's caravans, people have the right to do caravans as well. We want to make sure people can have these type of rights, and we want to make sure that LMPD assists in making sure that they are done safely. All right, to the reason why we're here today, and that is about Elliott Avenue. My reaction when I saw the assertions from Sam Aguiar about Elliott Avenue were I was dumbfounded to see the linkage of this initiative here of trying to rebuild this block with safe and affordable housing was somehow tied into a nefarious objective with Breonna Taylor's tragedy. So let me give you a little background, and then Reverend Bo Stillwell, who's our developer with Keeping It Real, has been for several years on this project, will also be providing some commentary. Jeff O'Brien is with me also. He's our director of Develop Louisville, that can answer everything from CDBG funds to all the technicalities and the big picture on Elliott Avenue as well. So on background on Elliott Avenue, the Land Bank Authority here, or our Land Bank Authority owns more than 20 properties on Elliott Avenue. The Land Bank Authority obtains most of its properties through foreclosure of vacant and abandoned properties. However, it occasionally also acquires property through donations and purchasing properties outright. The Land Bank does not target occupied properties, and during its analysis, 2424 Elliott Avenue was not identified as a property of interest because it appeared to be occupied and it had no liens on the property. following the initial letter notifying the 2424 owner that the property could be deemed a public nuisance because of drug activity on the site. The owner sent a letter in late January 2020 to Louisville Metro asking if we had any program to purchase or accept donation of problem properties. The renderings that have been shown, the renderings shown in the lawsuit were renderings from a student project conducted by undergraduate and graduate students at the University of Kentucky for school credit, working with Reverend Stilwell. It wasn't even the final version of the project that the students created. The city did not fund it, and it never has been a city plan for Elliott Avenue. City departments often are working with schools and universities to help students gain more real-world experience, and this was one of those here on Elliott Avenue. Bear with me. So, as it relates to this past weekend, the allegations, as I said, just had never thought about any type of connection like that before. Our immediate response was they were absurd, they were outrageous. There was no basis in fact to them. The attorney did not present any basis in fact either, but they're just throwing things at the wall, I guess, to see what would stick. The amount of work that the residents of the Russell neighborhood have done on the Vision Russell project, over 100 meetings to help design Russell so that the members of the Russell community would say, this is what we want our neighborhood to look like. This is what we want the investments to be. And working with us to fight any type of displacement has been our goal from day one. So what we're trying to do in neighborhoods like Russell is regenerate without displacement. And that has been on the record for months. You guys all know about that. There is a lot of activity going on in the Russell neighborhood, starting with the Beecher Terrace. Redo is the big project on the east side, all the way to the west side where the Louisville Urban League track facility is taking place. The city was the foundational partner in terms of investment, $10 million grant. When I say the city, all of the taxpayers of Louisville in the Urban League track and field facility. So we believe very strongly that we need an anchor on the west, an anchor on the east, going into Russell Place of Promise, reimagining Russell with our community groups. So this can be an example of, again, how you regenerate without displacing folks. So when you look around, obviously, this is a neighborhood in need of some help. And this is where city government can work with good developers and other investors to make that happen. Stabilize a neighborhood so people can sit out on a front porch and not have to be worried about any criminal activity, where people can own a home so that they can build wealth and pass it on, fight what redlining did as a scourge in this country for this past century or so. This is a demonstration project on how to get it done right. So we should be focusing on places like Elliott Avenue and the rest of West Louisville as well. So it was surprising to me to see the council raise questions about this, because they've been involved with this project as well in terms of allocation of funds, seeing what we're doing with the Russell neighborhood, et cetera. And if they're responding to a rumor to say if the rumor is correct, then they've got a problem with that. There's other ways that we can work together to make sure we get the facts out on this project. So that's certainly what we will do. Anything that we have as a city, any information that is not being held by some type of legal order that is stopping us from releasing it, that information is available to the public, to the council. As you all know, we're an open government by default. We've been noted by that nationally with awards, and will continue to do so. So bottom line is, my administration is created to more investment in West Louisville. The people in West Louisville deserve good neighborhoods with good amenities like everybody else. And that is through a combination of federal money, state money, local investors, developers. We're going to continue to do that, put it all out in the sunshine for everybody to see, just as the council has on many times, and certainly welcome their involvement and partnership, which they have done from time to time. So, Bo, do you want to talk a little bit more about the project here on Elliott Avenue? Reverend Stilwell.
Hello, everyone. Generally, I've talked to most of you in regards to this particular project, but we're just excited about the opportunity to be down here to make a difference. The renderings that you had gotten that the Sam had released was actually done by the University of Kentucky young people, and it was dedicated to I always say the Honorable Mr. Lyman Johnson, okay, who was the first individual that was able to enter UK as an African American man. And so the relationship between Louisville and this project became harmonious because of his connection there in Lexington and his life that he had lived here. And so the young people, 15 or 20 of them that were in the architectural school, excuse me, y'all should have told me to take off the glasses. I ain't trying to be that cool. Y'all can cut that one. Okay. With that, I know it's hot out here. But at the same time, what they had done was to pull together for us. They came here last summer, and I gave them a sense of what I would like to have this place look like. And I said, dream big. You know, why can't we have amenities inside? You know, dishwashers, solar panels, nice roads, nice parks. Why can't we have a waterfall? Why can't the West End be as beautiful as other parts of this country, of this city? Because we really have a beautiful city here. The people are beautiful, the city is beautiful, and we have a hope here. And what we're trying to do is provide some hope. If you don't have a dream, there is no hope. And people are living here, as Martin Luther King says, they're living down here in airtight cages of poverty. This is an impoverished area. Okay, when you look at the income of the upper 1%, it's $875,000. When you look at individuals across the, as we call the 9th Street Wall, that's 44. The average income in this community is $14,000. If you go to SNAP to get a food stamp, you're getting $13. Keeping It Real provides them through HOPWA, through the city, Metro City, in partnership with them, an additional $50 in a Kroger card that we provide. So we're providing services out in this area. You don't know what it is to hold someone in your arm and they're crying because someone just got killed, just got shot, or there's drugs down here. When we began to take the houses down, people were applauding because there was so much vagrancy going on in these homes around here. Look around. Look. Y'all stop and look. How many of you want to live in this environment? How many of you want to get a home over here and just chill? Okay, okay. You know what I'm saying? Well, I live here too in the West End myself. But at the same time, the crime, the transient that goes on, we're just trying to clean up those particular areas. When it came to 2424, Keeping It Real was not involved in that whatsoever. We're not the police here. When I come down here, I come down to love and to care and to share and to look after our people. And I build relationships with everyone, no matter what they're doing. It's important to know the people that's living in your neighborhood. So that's why we were pleased in 2016 to be honored to work with the city to begin to build research and find out information about the community down here in this on Elliott Street, and that's what we've done, and we're proud to have done it. Okay, questions or anything? Good, thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Stillwell. So I would like to ask the media to lift up developers like Bo Stillwell, that is down here as a mission about what he's doing to help neighborhoods here. So we appreciate what you're doing, Reverend, and Keeping It Real is his name, for the name of his company, for a specific reason. All right, with that, we'll be happy to take any questions.
Mayor, did you or anyone in your administration, be it Mr. O'Brien or Mr. Watkins or anyone with Develop Louisville, have any conversations with LMPD's PBI or anybody in the LMPD command staff to have PBI come and focus on Elliott Avenue?
We had no specific conversation with them. They're following the evidence in a case, place-based investigation, PBI.
We do have documents that talk about this particular development and also talk about PBI.
Well, that very well could be from LMPD. This is, if there's crime taking place that's associated with an investigation they have, there's going to be a nexus or a geography for that.
May I comment on
Yeah.
that? We do have monthly meetings, okay? And inside of those monthly meetings, the LPD comes in when they have an opportunity, and they do share with us what's going on in the neighborhood in terms of the number of calls called in for crime, the number of people there. But in terms of this particular 24 project, give me the acronym again that you're saying, the PD?
Place-based.
PBI, but that would have been, so what the allegation is in the lawsuit is that the administration and city employees talked to LMPD to have PBI focus on this aspect.
Yeah,
we were asked about it, but that was after the news stuff.
No. So Elliott Avenue is part of a place-based investigation. In terms of any specific property on that, there was no conversation with my office on that. But it would be logical for LMPD to be talking about specific locations that they had suspect of criminal activity.
When was the PBI created, and what other places is it looking at, to your knowledge?
PBI is in Cincinnati, Las Vegas. It's a place-based investigation is what it is. It's been active, I would say, for in the 6-month range or so. You know, it's one of many tools in the toolbox of fighting crime, but the principle behind it is identify locations that have large calls for service relative to criminal activity, understand what's associated with everything around that, and then go to work to try to make that a more peaceful situation.
Has this been their only area of focus so far?
I think there's a couple different cases going on, but LMPD could answer that.
Today, the Metro Council said that they don't argue that this project isn't great and it isn't what's needed for this community, but it's more specific to how the PBI has gone about, addressing this area. They're asking for documents explaining, any and all documents explaining what the PBI has been looking at and the processes that are going through. Do you plan to release those documents to them? Can you talk about just the process behind how they've been operating, not necessarily about you guys have talked a lot about this project and how great it is, but it's the question of how they've been operating.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised council doesn't know about that because they're briefed regularly on police activity. But any information that is not precluded or that we're not precluded from releasing because of the criminal investigation that the AG and the FBI are involved with, we absolutely will release all that information.
Does the actions against DeMarcus Glover, does that make it easier for the city to purchase the address?
Yeah, he donates. What you said before, where we had the police activity, and then he sent the letter back asking.
Okay. I think you probably should talk to the owner of the property about that, but he was aware of the police activity, and in conversation, was it with you, Jeff?
Yeah.
You can come up and Jeff O'Brien.
Yeah. So, as the mayor said, there was a conversation with codes and regulations after the police activity in December. There was a letter that was sent, as the mayor referenced, about the property could be marked as a public nuisance. At that point, the owner sent back a letter to us in January of 2020. And asked about donation of the property. Previous to that, we look at all properties in blocks that are heavily affected by vacant and abandoned properties to see if there are any liens or if the properties are actually vacant and abandoned. If they have city liens on them, or if they are, if they have city liens and are vacant and abandoned, then that makes them eligible for foreclosure activity. If they're occupied, or they don't have liens, or they have liens and they are occupied, we will not pursue foreclosure on them. That makes them not candidates. So in this case, we were asked about programs for donation.
And essentially, once the raid occurred, XYZ happened, the property then was vacant and available to continue that process essentially that the owner wanted to do with you guys?
The specifics of the conversations were, I believe the owner continued to have conversations with both codes and regulations and our Office of Community Development about the donation process, and eventually went forward with the donation. But that was, again, something that they had gone through on a voluntary act, and they would have had to vacate the property before we would have accepted the donation.
So, Mayor, to be clear, you're not denying the relationship between PBI and the Elliott Avenue project. Are you saying that your administration did or did not talk to LMPD about PBI working on this particular block?
What I'm saying is that you would have to talk to LMPD about their specific investigation here on Elliott Avenue. For that to be part of a place-based investigation activity would be logical given what a PBI is.
But did that conversation have to involve Develop Louisville or community development members?
Yeah, I mean, we have regular conversations with them before. Oh, yeah, no, we didn't.
No. They're not involved in any of the policing-related conversations regarding property.
So since you guys want to make this new area a better place, right? And I own a home here that I want to do something really awesome for the neighborhood that's going to bring positivity into the neighborhood. Who do I need to talk to help get support? Since that's what you're here to do, is to help the neighborhood.
So suggest two things. One, Reverend Stillwell with Keeping It Real, and then two, Develop Louisville. So there's grant programs for repairs so that you can make your property better, and then you get a grant for that. So those are two different ways you can do that. There's also a down payment assistance program where people that are paying rent and can do that but don't have the money for a down payment, you get a grant for that so you can own your home and start building wealth from there.
Mayor, you are not denying that the city does have a project and was actually planning on revitalizing Elliott Ave, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure why you're saying I'm not denying that. We have identified the Elliott Avenue as a project for redevelopment because the amount of vacant abandoned properties, it's been a hot spot for crime. That's why we work with Keeping It Real to get this done. So this is what we need more of in the community, investing in communities that need help, that can get government assistance, that because the private sector money wouldn't come in here, and working with developers and the communities that can identify what the neighborhood needs.
I think behind that question is the biggest issue right now is transparency, and people do not trust local government right now. They're asking for more transparency. So it's not the question of is this project good for the community, it's the question of were LMPD's intentions of having a PBI on this project with good intentions, or were they doing something that they shouldn't have been doing to move this project?
Yeah. So that that project was, or the address was targeted because of criminal activity. That was the sole reason. Okay. And of course, the facts are out that there was criminal activity at that specific address.
Did anyone from your administration develop?
All right, so we should probably get out before the storm comes, and unfortunately I got to jump on something at 5. But thanks for coming out. The main takeaway is this is a neighborhood that needs help. It's being developed by a guy that's been doing this for a long time. Unfortunately, there was illegal activity taking place at a house here. Police executed activity on that, but it has nothing to do with the overall development here that's going on in the community.